fault, but and no one's listening anyway. But we do have a couple items on the agenda for today. We will start with an informational briefing from Kansas State University. I understand that a couple days ago they had a fairly good turnout in a ball game. Is that right, Senator Dahl?
I like your attire today, but you needed a white shirt with that blue tie and red jacket, you know. Then, so if you're going to come out and be busting chops and everything like that, you ought to look patriotic while you're doing it, sir. Mr. Chairman, sir.
Well, thank you for your input, Senator Dahl. That's good to know.
He must care.
I'm going to man up and blame my wife. But in any event, we do have Kansas State University, and we aren't talking basketball today. We're talking more agriculture, but we've got with us Dr. Ernie Minton, who is the Dean of the College of Agriculture and the Director of the Kansas State Research and Extension. Looking forward to his presentation. Committee, I would ask you as Dean Milton, Dr. Milton is going through his presentation. If you have a question, just make a note, and then after his presentation, we will hammer him with questions. I mean, we will give him some softball questions. Dr. Minton, welcome to the committee.
Happy we got the basketball discussion done right away. So before I get started, this slide deck that I'll be going through, I think is the stapled copy that you all have at your respective spaces. So we'll be following that, and as Senator Peck indicated, if you have questions, that'd be a good place to jot them down. First of all, I'm very happy to be here on behalf of Kansas State University, but more specifically the College of Agriculture and K-State Research and Extension. We're here annually, but today in particular, I want to express a great deal, not only of thanks to the support we've gotten from the state, from these various committees, but also express a sense of real optimism and enthusiasm for what is coming for the future. And I think that that is something I want to try to communicate with the aid of these slides, because I think what we're trying to do is maintain our deep strengths in food and agriculture production, modernize those, but also move Kansas State University's College of Agriculture, K-State Research and Extension forward to be more capable of bringing value-added entities to the state of Kansas, which also supports our interest in rural communities and their health and sustainability long-term. So we've titled this Driving Innovation in Agriculture. And I'm going to move on to a slide which is a quote from one of our distinguished alums, who is Vice President at Ardent Mills, the largest milling company in the country, who has gotten behind our agriculture innovation initiative, but also captured the real sense that, in particular in his world, from the standpoint of the beginning with wheat genetics, all the way to bread and other value-added products on the shelf, this agriculture innovation initiative is emblematic of the direction that we're moving to continue to have our strengths in production agriculture, both crop and livestock, but then also really focus on bringing value by bringing in companies, creating jobs, and other kinds of resources that will support our rural communities as well. So last year, I reported the projects that were composing the university's highest priority building efforts, and those we have labeled the Agriculture Innovation Initiative. And so I want to begin there and give you an update on that. where we're at and what we hope to accomplish through the course of the session. So as the slide indicates, we have more than 149 million of the 210 goal, $210 million goal to get this project accomplished. A little over 92 million in privately raised funds. That's an astonishing number, actually, but we've got more to do. The college is looking for ways also to commit resources that we have in terms of SRO and other internally generated resources that over time we can collaborate directly with the project as well. And then so far, we've received $50 million from the state, and just as a recap, 25 of that was awarded without a match, and then last year, we were challenged to unlock another 25. We had to raise $75 million, and we were really, really pleased that by early December, we had in fact raised that 75. So we got 50 now from the state, and what's proposed, and I think in the governor's budget, is an additional 25 of state funding, but we have to match that with $25 million of philanthropic money as well. And so if we accomplish that, we'll be up to a total of $75 million state investment in this $210 million total goal. So I want to emphasize that we're obviously so very appreciative of the state contributions to this project, but I also want to emphasize that the private sector, in terms of their belief in this set of projects that we're doing, has been so strong that we've been unbelievably successful from a philanthropic perspective as well. So this is going to have an exceptional blend of all of those sources of funding as well. This year, this past year, I should say, we kicked off what is going to be a series, multi-year series of sentinel events that happen with this project. So we had two groundbreakings that are illustrated there in 2023. May 15th, 2023, we had the groundbreaking for the Agronomy Research and Innovation Center. And then in December, which I think was also December 15th, we had the groundbreaking for the Bilbrey Family Event Center. And so again, 2023 was the beginning of these projects. More to come in 2024. We don't have the groundbreaking scheduled yet for the Global Center on Grain and Food Innovation, but construction and key demolition projects are scheduled for calendar year 2024 as well. I want to next move to several projects that we want to highlight that I think focus, as I said, both upon maintaining our strengths at Kansas State University across research, extension, and teaching that continue to support production agriculture, again, both from a crops perspective, but also livestock. And in addition, set us up really very nicely to fulfill that value-added part of agriculture that we need to retain here in the state of Kansas. So here we're highlighting the Institute for Digital Agriculture and Advanced Analytics. And this particular initiative really focuses our attention on really key elements that will set up our researchers for the future in terms of delivering precision inputs to crops and livestock, but also helping us train the next generation of both master's degree and, both bachelor degree and graduate degree holding students who will have the capability because of their immersion in digital agriculture and advanced analytics to go to work for the John Deeres of the world, other companies which require, in terms of crop consulting, a real current knowledge on the latest in terms of digital agriculture and advanced analytics. So there's a $2 million request that's in this year, one time, to get that program kick-started, and we're very, very optimistic with this well-qualified group of collaborators, and also multiple colleges that are involved, not just agriculture, in this effort to really bring a good deal of value to the teaching, research, and extension work that K-State is about. And again, we're also focusing on value-added agriculture as well. And again, not leaving behind our deep strengths in production agriculture. So I wanted to highlight a few things that we're doing on the livestock side, and then the value-added pieces that are coming along as well. So in terms of supporting animal agriculture, I've got a couple of bullet points here that point out that the Department of Animal Sciences and Industry, which obviously trains undergraduate and graduate students in all aspects of livestock production, but also value-added livestock production in terms of meat science, dairy processing, those kinds of things, is the largest major at Kansas State University. So there's obviously a good deal of student interest. There are a lot of pre-veterinary students, but others who may not make it into veterinary school, who have great opportunities across the entire both livestock production and value-added foods arenas. And so we've got plans to modernize our feedlot. This is a totally philanthropic effort that we support nonetheless. Will be important in terms of supporting that key segment of the Kansas livestock industry, the cattle feeding industry. And then also Kansas Dairy, and you've heard from them, has really gotten behind the upgrade of our dairy production facility, which is definitely in dire need of upgrade. So we support their efforts there in terms of trying to make that particular project happen as well. So this slide really kind of highlights something that's a little different. But I wanted to make a couple points here. So these are companies in the last 2 years that have made commitments to expand their businesses in Kansas. And I want to just highlight as an example the one on the far left with Schooler expansion in Goodland, Kansas, with an oilseed crush facility that utilizes both canola and soybeans, additional jobs, and then, of course, a key part of attracting those businesses to a city like Goodland will be related to another thing I'll talk about later in my presentation. That is the work of Kansas State 105. So a company like Schooler has to find a place where they can attract employees to, where there's solid healthcare system, there's great child care for employees of those companies, and that's where K-State 105 merges with things like this. But the point I want to emphasize is that canola is part of their business plan. So many years ago, we invested in a canola breeder when not many people thought that was a good idea. But we've stuck with that from the perspective that we can diversify the crops that we invest in and have deep expertise in. And I know for a fact that Schooler's conversations with Mike Stamm, our canola breeder, were key in Goodland's decision to expand that oilseed crush. We've got obviously a lot of expertise in soybeans, but again, canola, an oilseed crop that we've paid attention to, and that a great deal of progress has been made in terms of winter tolerance and those kinds of things that make it a good alternative oilseed crop. So again, an example of where our work was key in terms of attracting businesses to Kansas, and there are lots of examples of that with the expansion of Hill's Pet Food and other kinds of value-added agriculture. So we're going to be focused on that very, very acutely in the coming years. Also want to highlight a multi-institutional program that we've made a priority at Kansas State University, and that is the Kansas Water Institute. You all are keenly aware of the need for Kansas to be in the lead on technology and innovations that happen in the water quantity, quality, and sustainable utilization space. And so this institute proposes to do that. But the key thing here that I want to emphasize in this particular slide, it is Kansas State University, but it's also the other major research universities, and then Fort Hays State University as well, that are partnering to help make this a successful plan. So this Water Institute reflects a unique mix of both research institutions and both state and federal partners in terms of making that this water plan really unique, different, and we think one that will be important to the state of Kansas going forward. And so there is a $5 million request that's in the governor's budget that's recurring to really stand this up and make a commitment long-term. This is, I think you'd agree, without the aquifer, we've really got problems going forward in the coming many years. But also we have problems with our reservoirs, renewal of our reservoirs, water quality issues, and those kinds of things that will be the purview of this Kansas Water Institute. Next, I want to turn in the next several slides to our key missions of teaching, research, and extension outreach. I'm going to touch these at a high level, and I'm going to point out that at the back of your handout, and we'll get to it eventually, there's nice pie charts that break down where our sources of funding arise from in terms of both state, institutional, federal, et cetera. But in terms of our teaching mission, we're very happy to report the College of Agriculture continues to be well regarded nationally. We have cited this niche.com ranking that the college has enjoyed over the past many years, and even through the pandemic. I think we slipped to 11th one year. We've been back in the top 5, 6, 7 for several years running. There's a great deal of optimism on the campus because things that have been put in place in terms of strategic enrollment management are beginning to take hold. And finally, last year, this past fall, for the first time in a decade, we had an increase in new freshmen on campus and an increase, it was small, but an increased total enrollment in the College of Agriculture. And this fall looks even better. It's on a very, very good trajectory in terms of not only applicants, but admissions and also commitments for housing on campus, which is often a good sign that someone is serious about coming to K-State when they make a financial commitment to housing. So there are a number of university-wide scholarship programs that the president and the leadership in Anderson Hall have put in place that have helped us. But in addition, at the college level, through really hard work and great philanthropy, we're able to again award over $2 million in scholarships to students in the College of Agriculture. The other number I want to highlight is when our students graduate, they have an opportunity to be employed, and not only by chance, but we get nearly 100% of them employed right off the bat. And I do want to qualify that by employed, we mean they have a job or they have been accepted to veterinary school or graduate school, so they've got their next step already locked in. I showed you last year, and I didn't want to include it this year, but I want to say that Kansas State, we're very proud of the fact that, and it's reflected in these niche.com rankings. If you apply to K-State, you have a very, very high chance of admission, on the order of 96% chance of admitted. And what I showed you last year was the fact that we admit a lot of students that would be considered at risk. That is, their ACT score is not only below 25, there are many that are admitted that are below 20. Now, I'm not saying it's easy to get those students out. It requires high-touch advising, but we're committed to that. And I think what that says is we embrace the land-grant university of access. We think every Kansas student, and then even beyond, if they are interested, we'll work with them to get them in school, but we'll also send them out with a high-quality degree and a very high-paying job. And so, again, that's something that we celebrate, and it has worked to our advantage in terms of these niche.com rankings, and I can expand on that if you all are interested in how that happens. In research, I just want to highlight a couple things here. You can see that the graphic on the right-hand side of this slide depicts our research awards. So just to clarify a little bit, the state money that we get annually in the ESARP sub-agency funds our people. So it basically funds our researchers and our extension personnel and so forth, and then those faculty are not only encouraged, they're required really to go externally to USDA, to Department of Defense, to NASA, to other federal sources, and other state sources in terms of commodity commissions and so on, to get money to deliver their research and in some cases their extension programs as well. So it's an oversimplification, but generally it is true. A high percentage of our base state dollars fund faculty salaries and a little bit of operating, but the vast majority of operating comes from success that's represented here in this particular figure. So you can see there was a dip associated with the pandemic, but we have sprung back and sprung back in record numbers. Our both in 2022 and 2023, we were over $70 million in externally awarded grants, which I would say is easily more than double the next highest college on campus. And I'm just saying that this reflects the important footprint that the College of Agriculture, K-State Research and Extension has on the research mission of the university writ large. Another measure of that, which all research-intensive universities report to the National Science Foundation, is research expenditures. So what we just looked at in the previous slide was external grants that have been awarded. What this bar chart represents is once a dollar is spent, whether it's external or internal, did it support research? And so that's what is reported to the National Science Foundation. KU does this, Wichita State responds to that survey as well. So what the purple bars illustrate is the K-State total. And you can see that it's, you know, in the 200, maybe 200 million plus, which again dipped during COVID, naturally. But it has come back somewhat as well. The green bars are the college's share of that, those research expenditures. So research supporting food, agriculture, and natural resources is around half of the total of what is reported from the university. So again, the university has invested strongly, and we have been very, very successful in terms of generating dollars, leveraging state dollars outside to bring in funding to fund things that are important to food and agriculture in the state. I want to highlight a premier program that is Extension is heavily involved in. It's not all Extension, however. The university has elevated this K-State 105, which you've heard quite a little bit about, to the university level. So we've got the Office of Engagement working hand in hand with Extension with, I would say, an express mission of going out in the state, utilizing our connections in all 105 counties to help facilitate this mission of economic prosperity. And we're talking about penetrating rural Kansas, rural communities to make sure they have every opportunity to be successful. And so the dollars that were awarded last year for K-State 105 have already begun to be invested in the people to carry out the mission, but also programs that have partnered with both statewide and regional economic development organizations to begin to implement this K-State 105 mission. So I want to, again, just take a minute to reemphasize using the schooler slide as an example, where we have research and innovation, which includes things related to digital agriculture and advanced analytics, advancing the science of producing soybeans and canola, and the work of K-State 105, doing things that make a community more capable of supporting livelihoods, jobs, and so forth, both, well, statewide, actually. So we're very, very excited about that. Dr. Hadley, our Extension Director, has a really very nice quote here that's in your packet you can read at your leisure that really summarizes that ability. It's really actually empowering local communities in child care, health care, housing, and other community infrastructure that has to marry up with the science in order for us to really fulfill this economic development mission. So I just want to quickly point out this pie chart. The font is very, very small, so you can look at that and kind of sort through it a bit. I'm happy to answer questions about it. I want to emphasize one thing, however, in particular. If you look at the top left, it's labeled Agriculture Experiment Station. That is our research enterprise. So that's campus, but also research that occurs at the regional research and extension centers. And I want to point out the big purple segment of that pie, which is extramural funds. And then I would point to the state investment that's in green. And so I want to make the point that that green segment is primarily what funds the people that leverage their expertise to bring the purple bar external dollars into Kansas. And together, we're able to fulfill that research mission. You can draw kind of similar analogies to the cooperative extension side of the house. And the college part, the pie in the very bottom center, is our academic mission. So this is the teaching that occurs both at the undergraduate and graduate level. So Chairman, with that, I'm going to wrap up my comments, and I'm going to agree with this slide because you can see I've signed it there, that our future is bright. And you know, even the messenger, and I know several of you from coming here year after year, you know, the messenger might not be bright, but the outlook in the future is so bright. We have leadership in Anderson Hall, and some of that leadership is here supporting me today. In addition to President Linton, that brings so much energy, so much enthusiasm, so much optimism to the future of the College of Agriculture, K-State Research and Extension, and for the betterment of Kansas State University as a whole. It is a great time for agriculture at K-State, and we value your partnership in terms of helping us realize that vision. So I'll close there and see if there are questions.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for your presentation.
Absolutely.
A couple of questions, if you don't mind. Perennial crops, back 20 years ago, they were trying that real hard in Salina, I believe, at that institute. And I have not seen, has there been any advancement with the perennial, like Milo, I think is what they were trying to grow?
Yes, and Kernza, I think, too, a variety of wheat.
Yeah.
I think we've had researchers who are interested in the broad category of sustainable and regenerative crops that have worked with the Land Institute, I believe it's Salina, that has promoted that. So the concept is one that is obviously worth looking at. I think agronomically, the problem has been yield and quality that have been kind of the holdup to the next piece, which is, how do you take that to a flour mill or, a feedlot and flake that grain. So we have had researchers that have been interested in that and have worked with that group. But there are those challenges that have to be worked through.
That was certainly, you could tell the second and third crop wasn't near like the first one. No-till farming, back where I'm from, rain seems to be a problem for us a lot.
Right.
And no-till farming seems to be a fantastic tool that we've been using. Is that statewide, or is that just back where we're at?
No, I think minimum to no tillage is what particularly our Department of Agronomy assumes to be the baseline. The days of the Moberg plow are long gone. We realize the value of crop residue and organic matter in the soil. We've got a number of really nationally, actually globally, top researchers that are working in that area. And this is exactly what can be complemented by this DAAA, this Digital Agriculture and Advanced Analytics work. When using limited or no-till techniques, you got to have the other inputs very precise, both in terms of water, but also in terms of application of not only fertilizer, but herbicide. And so John Deere, for example, has this seek and spray technology, which is all digital agriculture and advanced analytics, so that we don't broadcast herbicides, we use them in a more precision way. But to your point, yes, no-till, minimum tillage is really kind of all we talk about.
One more, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And no-till farming is really, I think, saves a lot of water also, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Canola. I was a hail adjuster at one time, a crop hail adjuster.
Huh?
And canola, I'm not familiar. Where is that grown? I saw where it's the plants in Goodland. I would assume it's in Northwest.
Yeah, so the most of the canola acres in Kansas are in south central Kansas. So canola, the type of canola that we grow is winter canola. So in the Dakotas, that would be spring canola, and it goes all the way up into Canada. But this is a crop that is kind of follows the wheat cycle. It's planted in the fall. We got to be concerned about winter kill, and our breeder's been working on that for years and years. But if you get into the northern parts of Kansas, winter kill is still a problem. So even though we've had success pushing canola farther north, its concentration would be, I would say, in south central and maybe west central Kansas. There are a number of benefits of growing canola in alternate years with wheat too, because of weed control and other kinds of things that, and also a benefit to the soil. So canola, for those who are comfortable growing it, has become a nice alternative. I'm not sure of. There probably were many factors in terms of transportation and those kinds of things. But the crush plant is, I think, from a business perspective, where Schooler thought they could place it, but I think there's another aspect to that, and that is where the renewable fuels plants that are predicted to come online will be located in the state. And so we need to get that oil to where that new, and this is the new version of renewable diesel that doesn't have to be blended. And so soybeans are an important part of that, and canola will be.
Senator Francisco.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And this is just in response to Senator Dahl's first comment. You can get Kernza flour now at a store in Newton. I used it in my fruitcake this past holiday, and I would be happy to bring some in if the chair would like to taste it.
I resemble that.
For the whole committee.
I say I resemble that fruitcake very much. And,
Maybe sweet roll.
I am one of those individuals who does appreciate fruitcake. So, Senator Straub.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Dean Minton, for your
Absolutely.
presentation. I was just looking at the pie charts on the Cooperative Extension Service, and as a former 4-H'er and a K-State graduate, the federal appropriations is only approximately 7% of the Cooperative Extension Service funding.
Right.
Can you give us any examples of how that federal funding has come with strings that has restricted the university in doing some of the things they might want to do, and also maybe how the feds may fund their program, because we know the Cooperative Extension Service is under the United States Department of Agriculture. Can you just elaborate on how the federal funding affects you all?
Yeah, so the federal funding, is an important source of the total extension package. And it has funded key salary sources of employees. But I think this may be what you're driving at. When the university receives federal funds, we are, obligated to federal guidelines in terms of hiring practices and other kinds of things. So in that sense, I guess what we do is we work with the federal government, to make that happen. So I don't hear actually from Dr. Hadley that they resent or wouldn't want to have the federal funding, but it does create, and it's similar to the university as a whole. And by that I mean we receive USDA funding, federal. We receive NIH funding and other important sources of funding, as does the University of Kansas. And when you receive federal funding, there are those obligations to adhere to those federal requirements.
I do have a question I'm going to ask. You had mentioned when you were on one of the charts that you work to get students in school. I don't know if that was exact quote, but fairly closely.
Yes,
And that you accept students with a low ACT score. I've got a sort of a two-part question here. And this goes back to somewhat in athletics, but as the K-State College of Agriculture, do you send some of these students to get their early start in higher ed to a community college? And so that's question number one. Question number two, does the K-State College of Agriculture accept all of the credits earned by students who do attend a community college prior to going to the College of Agriculture?
So with regard to your initial question, I think I speak for our Associate Dean for Academic Programs, Dr. Mosier, and his team in saying that when they encounter a prospective student that may be thinking about K-State but may also be thinking about a community college, we absolutely support that because that's the best place for some students to start. And I think the other thing that I would say, I can't unequivocally say that every single course transfers, but there is a continual effort to communicate from our perspective with community colleges to make sure their intro to animal science transfers in one-on-one with our intro to animal science, and that's one that does, and so I use it as an example.
The reason I asked that question, my understanding from the community colleges, a lot of our private universities in the state do accept all credits from community colleges, but not that a lot of our region schools do. So I would just encourage that the region schools do allow more of these credits to count.
We are in agreement with that, and I can say in the College of Agriculture, we're working very proactively, I would say, with those community college partners to make sure that that happens. We don't want students to waste any credits that they take at a community college, because again, we're in agreement that that may be the absolute best place for them to start.
Thank you. Doctor, I don't see any additional, Senator Francisco.
I'll go ahead, and then Senator Reichman might have a question. So I'm pleased to see the Kansas Water Institute, because that is an issue. Are there any ways that you plan to follow along with what's happening in this activities that are being done in the state water plan, and making sure that that's sort of
Yes.
focused on some of the same concerns?
Absolutely. My key point of contact with regard to that very issue is Ms. Susan Metzger, who many of you know, who's very, very knowledgeable and was at the water office earlier in her career. And so this Water Institute absolutely supports those 5 pillars that are espoused in the water plan. We have collected a unique collection of university partners that are, again, statewide, but also agencies, which makes the Institute different from those institutions' research focus and innovation that is used in the water plan. So we think they're very complementary, but we think that in particular, the research mission of the Institute will really advance the technology that will help us with the aquifer. I think I've got this straight. The reservoirs is the second one, water quality, water awareness as well. And so those match very well with those missions. Mm-hmm.
Senator Fagg.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for your presentation. Kind of like in numbers, one thing when I look through this and say Agriculture Innovation Initiative, your goal was $210 million. That matching, was that private? The matching part, was it private gifts or federal fund gifts?
Those were, the majority of those were private matching gifts from mostly alumni, but also state entities like Kansas Farm Bureau, Kansas Soybean, the grain commissions, those kinds of matching sources.
And a follow-up question, if I may. Performance-based budgeting. So I look at this and say, okay, what have you done with the funding? And how do you measure success with that kind of money? Do you have any kind of matrix set up for that?
For the Ag Innovation Initiative?
That's just one that I'm questioning.
Okay. Yes, the best answer to that is we are very keenly aware that we need to demonstrate impact. So just prior to the pandemic, and in fact, the report was delivered in the pandemic, we hired a third party, so it wasn't a K-State ag economist that was developing the data, called Techonomy, capital T-E-C-O-N-O-M-Y, if I've spelled that correctly. And to boil down their extensive analysis of our work and its impact, there's a $17 to 1 multiplier there. So for every state or private dollar that's spent on the College of Agriculture or research and extension programs, we can expect a $17-fold leverage of that $1 that's spent. And so that's going to vary, whether we're talking about bricks and mortar that help us reinvest, reinvent programs and expand our programs. But that payoff is actually is there.
Chairman, quickly, okay. I'm going to, we could talk all day on that one, but my second question is there a national lab on water? There's 17 national labs in the United States. Is any of those on water?
Well, I may have to get back with you on that. My impression is that each state has its own water institute. There may be an overarching national water laboratory, but we need to get back with you on that particular question.
Okay. And so what I'm questioning is when we do this $5 million, kind of twofold. One, why haven't we been working on this in the past? Because we know this is a big issue. And two, how are we going to measure results out of this?
Yeah, so I think in answer to your first question, that's an excellent question. And so we made the decision, and by we, not just the College of Agriculture and K-State Research and Extension, but the university as a whole said this needs to be a flagship program that we need to rally our KBOR partners around and go to the state for a permanent investment. And so we think over time, and this will be one of those things where the progress probably will be somewhat incremental, but we need to get programs in place that encourage water conservation, for example, in terms of irrigation water out of the aquifer. And so that's complicated. That's not only crop genetics that use less water, it's also precision irrigation, but it's also water use policy in terms of crop insurance and how far into what's going to obviously be an abandoned crop do you actually need to irrigate to make sure you meet those requirements. So it's going to be all of those things. And so I think that the Kansas Geological Survey monitors annually water wells in the West, and so I think we'll have a good idea in the next few years what kind of progress we're making there.
Dr. Minton, thank you for appearing before the committee, your presentation, answers to questions. We appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for having me.
Committee, we shall now turn our attention to Senate Bill 347. We will work the bill. This is a bill that we had heard previously, and so I would point out that there should be the bill in your folder, and you can look and see if you made any notes on the legislation, and if there's anything that you need to ask questions, if not. But in any event, we're going to work 347. Senate Bill 347 is the legislation that would require Senate confirmation of appointees to the Kansas Department of Wildlife and Parks Commission. Does anyone need a review of the legislation from our staff? I didn't think so. It's not that complicated a bill. But committee, what are your wishes for the legislation? Senator Straub.
Mr. Chair, I would move that we pass Senate Bill 347 favorably.
There's a motion by Straub, seconded by Senator Dahl. Discussion on the motion. Senator Francisco.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I remain concerned about this bill because I think we heard, especially from the Nature Conservancy, that there would be some alternate ways to make sure that those commissioners would have a background in hunting and fishing. I think that was one of the hopes of this legislation. Because simply requiring Senate approval is not going to ensure that a candidate would have those values. And as we see increasing population in urban areas, that may be even a concern that it be Senate confirmation. So because of those concerns, I would be voting against this. If anyone would like to, I guess I would move, well, I substitute motion that we defer consideration of this bill and look at alternative ways to ensure that those representatives would be, have particular backgrounds for appointment.
There is a substitute motion that's been made. Is there a second to the substitute motion? Seconded by Senator Kirshen. Discussion on the substitute motion. Senator Straub.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. If Senator Francisco's concern is that the department would suggest, would suggest that people have a background in wildlife and parks or hunting or fishing or whatever, the Senate confirmation process would do exactly that, like we do for the Board of Regents. We actually get a full resume and a full history of that person's experiences and basically their knowledge on the whole subject. So I think there's really no better way than to have a Senate confirmation process for those board members.
We do have a question. Senator Ware apparently is watching online. Senator Ware, do you have a question? Senator Ware?
Can you hear me?
Okay, we can now. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, okay. Yeah, excuse me. Beyond the concerns that Senator Francisco mentioned, I have concerns about this bill in that it tips just a little bit further the careful, delicate balance that keeps our government strong in that we have three equal strengths, parts of our government: legislative, administrative, and judicial. And it concerns me that while this one bill by itself might not tip a balance tremendously, I see more than one bill that put together could. And so that's my bottom line concern with this bill.
Further discussion on the substitute motion. Senator Francisco.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I do understand that the Senate confirmation process would give an opportunity for the Senate to understand an individual's strengths and their background, but it wouldn't provide for any balance across the commission. So you could end up with, you know, the confirmation process looking to say, oh, this person is a fisherman, this person is a fisherman, this person is a fisherman, and a lot of the topics that are discussed are about deer. So it seems that putting in legislation some requirements that would help us get a broad range of experience, to me, would be better than the doing it individual at a time.
Further discussion on the substitute motion. Seeing none, Senator Francisco, do you wish to close on your motion? And please restate your motion.
I move that the committee defer action on this bill until Monday of next week, and look for an alternative. And I move we defer till Monday. I would work on alternative wording that would identify during that time, and that's why I'm asking for deferral.
Okay. So the Motion's a little different than originally stated, but it's close enough. So the chair will allow. You've heard the motion. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, no.
No.
Motion appears to fail. Division's been requested. All in favor, say, raise a hand. Thank you. All opposed, raise a hand. Thank you. Motion fails. We are back to the original motion by Senator Straub to pass Senate Bill 347 out favorably. Further discussion on the motion? Seeing none, we shall vote on the motion. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion appears to pass. Motion does pass. That is all that I had on the agenda for today, committee. I appreciate your time. We are